Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Workshop Weekly Episode 9. Now, this one, I promise, isn't going to be as big as the last one. We reviewed a total of 25 items, being 24 sets and 1 courier. This one, I believe, we only have 13 total sets. That does not mean there's a million more sets out there. It's just the ones that I looked at that I felt were ones that I wanted to talk about in particular. Plus, I tried to stay away from a lot of the resubmissions that might be 2+ years old. There's a couple resubmissions that are in this episode as well, but some of the resubmissions were from older ones that I don't think would really fit the tune of Dota 2 at the moment, even if they were specifically themed around one of the internationals. Say, for example, the aquatic one. And there's a couple of sets out there that looked like an aquatic looking set, but not really a set that I would really like to talk about because that time is kind of long past. There are, again, like I talked about, there are some sets in here that are resubmissions from previous battle passes and previous collector's caches, summer stash, etc., in here. But there's just some of them, there's a lot more sets basically than what I'm reviewing today and last week, as well as next week. So, with that being said, welcome to episode 9 of Workshop Weekly. 13-ish or so, I'm pretty sure it's 13 sets we have reviewed. A lot of them actually are duplicates from one particular... Actually, no, a couple of them are multiples of multiple artists and such. So, we've got a lot from one of the artists called Hunter x Hunter, and then we have a couple from Stefco. And then I think we have 3 sets from, I have to scroll down on my list right here. I think Nikey? Something like that. There's a couple of Nikey sets in here. There's a lot of ones that I found on Twitter that were all by the same person. So we're working off of that. So without further ado, let's get into the episode. Now these are in no particular order, in comparison to last time where it was in alphabetical order. So this time, they're in no order in particular. They're just sets that I downloaded in that exact way and setting and put them all into here as scenes. First set is kind of like a resubmission, I think, but I didn't actually see it say resubmission in the form. And it's not an old set, but it's an Anubis-like set for OD. This one's called the Immortal Reaper, which is by A and Hunter x Hunter. So the reason I like this set a lot, actually, is that it still sticks with OD's kind of, like, astral presence kind of deal, but he's got this kick-ass scythe, and it's full Egyptian. Like, I like a lot of the sets that make heroes look older, but still at least keep the baseline color theme and scheme, and overall, like, scene, working with the hero in-game and outside of game. I feel like OD, because he is considered the Outworld Devourer, he probably has a lot of different fashion senses he might have gathered over the times devouring the Outer Worlds. But this is why, that's the reason I like this set, is because OD probably has a big timeline of how long he's been kicking around for. And again, like I talked in last episode, Slacks will probably know even more about whatever OD's lore is, but that's not me. I am here to talk about sets. And I think that this one's a real good one. The only thing I really don't like about this set, which I'm sure there's probably a lot of other opinions that people will make about this, but there's 2 balls that hang off of the back of both of OD's wings. And I'm not really a big fan of those little balls because they're kind of just there. They don't really work with the set too well, but again, I'm not the one who makes the set or, you know, designs the set and sits there and then enjoys every little bit of life making them. So, as you can see in the image in this big top right screen here, the balls do kind of blend in with the set while in-game, but while we're looking at it at the armory, it doesn't really seem too important to have it in there. Next set, now this one is a resubmission, I saw it, but I just couldn't not talk about it because it looks really, really, really good. This is the Hollowed Dreadlord by Keinhangia, I believe, and the attasik. Now, I know who attasik is. I've never heard of Keinhangia, but again, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about really cool-looking sets, and the reason I picked up the Shadow Fiend set was because it's an ever-looming presence kind of set. Like, it doesn't heavily alter Shadow Fiend's baseline appearance too much and still keeps the very shadowy presence that is this Shadow Fiend. Plus, as you can see when you go into the bottom left screen here, when he's collecting souls using rays, they actually go into the soul, like, prism inside that little gemstone hanged on to the chest there instead of going, like, directly to the stomach. But overall, I like this set because it was a big black and white steel one that still worked out with Shadow Fiend's lower half of his body. Every now and again, we see sets that kind of just forget about the lower half of the body. The Immortal actually, well, there is an Immortal, but the Arcana is one of the sets that are pretty much like that. As you can see from the lower body in the Arcana, there's no lower body supporting with like most of the outfit. This outfit, however, does have a lower body support where most outfits kind of fail to do so in that retrospect and in that regard. So again, big keynote for this one is that it looks really friggin' cool. Black and steel with the nice crimson overtone. That's why it was very hard for me to get it. I had 3 different words stuck in my head meshed into one. But it has a very nice overall color scheme. And I like the cinematic picture here. Not cinematic picture, but like the ever-looming picture that Shadow Fiend is looming over terribly. It is like the Dreadlord himself. So, another big reason why I like the set. I'd gladly use that as my background any day. Next, we have a Wraith King set by Elaine and Hunter x Hunter. Again, like I said, we're going to be seeing him quite a bit often in this one, as well as a few other ones like TGart and Stefco. But here we have a Wraith King set called Scarlet Lords. Now, last week we did review another Wraith King set that was not really like this one, but kind of along the same kind of color scheme. Now, the reason I picked this one was because this set felt more complete than the previous one. The previous one kind of had it to where, like, it looked like some parts were kind of missing, and they weren't exactly, like, all pieced together in the right way. And the reason I picked up this Wraith King set this week was because this one was quite the opposite. This one felt extremely complete, and it actually blended in really nice with the rest of the overall armor scheme. As you can see in the dark picture here up in the top middle, I'd say, it actually blends in really nice with the overall knight scheme. On top of the fact that, like, I like the fact that, like, the set is kind of just a bunch of eyeballs. Like, there's 4 eyes on the shoulder pads, as well as, like, a big gaping maw mouth with another eye on his back. And then his arm, which I think he might have been trying to go for a light shield, but I think it's actually just an arm brace, is another gaping maw mouth. And if you look very closely when you're looking in the cinematic screen before he does a little spin, you can see that the arm actually has it to where it's moving a little bit on its own, and not just the arm itself. And by what I mean the arm moving itself, it's the mask that's on the arm. You could see that it has a little bit of an om-nom-nom to it. But like, it's another one where I want to say that the color scheme works out extremely well. Wraith King has been a big flexibility when it comes to his colors, because we've seen the Lich King set basically for Wraith. And now we have the what was the other one? There was a really red one. I guess the Skeleton King hand, which is the stun, which can be red. And then there's a couple of other very red baseline sets. And then there's a lot of sets that still are hooked up to the new Wraith King model from the previous Skeleton King model set for armor. But I like this set a lot because it's another one of the ones that blends in really well. I could see that Valve might be putting in their own little spin on this set too when it comes to making it a very rare, because Wraith King already has a lot of decent particle effects. It's not like they can't add some more. Add some gold trim to those feathers and maybe add a little bit of an explosive attack with that basically looks like an Aghanim Scepter but in a sword. You can see it's like a black obsidian with a red overtone. Very, very smooth. So that's why we picked up this Wraith King set today. And like, as I always talk about, I do try to refrain from having multiple sets for one hero in each episode. So this kind of makes the justification that I didn't really pick this set over the fact that I couldn't pick it from the last week, because we did pick up 2 Terrorblades, and this week we have 2 Mars sets. But that has nothing to do with Wraith King, and I like this set a lot. Next, we have Queen of Pain. Now, this one didn't actually have too many visuals that I could use with this one, but I saw it in a heartbeat, and I'm like, yeah, no, this Queen of Pain has to get in. It's the Countess of Ristul, and it's pretty straightforward set, actually, in the sense that it's the Ristul set. This one kind of depicts that Queen of Pain is from the Ristul family, as we somewhat learned during the Underlord's loregasm, in a sense. I don't know if Slags actually knows about that, so don't tell him that. He probably does, though. He knows all the lore. I literally know nothing. But this one makes Queen look like her opulent royal self, because she is the Countess of Ristul. And it works out with her extremely well. It's a big, fluorescent, feathery set that makes her look absolutely royal. As you can see, she has like a little bit of arm brace coverage as well with the goblet that connects into the weapon. Both of those are actually just within one slot, so it's not like there's an offhand and a main hand, but they'll probably separate that in post. But I liked this set almost immediately. I didn't really need to talk too much about it and look at it because it's actually just a perfect set, and it works out extremely well, even lore-wise, for Queen of Pain to have a set like this. And this one, made by TGart, Aphelion, and STAINISLAV MARAKULIN. I'm sure that there's a Russian way for me to pronounce that, but I would rather not butcher it even further. Next, we have another Night Stalker set. Now, this one's another one that I was talking about. We're going to have a lot of duplicates today from Nikey, Aphelion, and TGart. Now, this Night Stalker set, being called the Vengeful Gargoyle, was something I found very interesting because when you look at the daytime set version, you could see that it's like a white crimson, not white crimson steel, but more of a white calm steel in the bottom left here. But you go to the bottom left now during the nighttime, it's actually a whole entire different color scheme that's not the same as the previous one. So we go up to this top screen here, we could see, like I was talking about, it's this light steel, and then in the dark time, it's not the light steel. It's actually more of a skin at the point, because like most gargoyles, you're outside of skin during the daytime because you can't be out in the daytime. But as soon as the nighttime comes around, the gargoyle is able to leap and become its own creature and predator of absolute destruction, where we see in this second version, being the nighttime version here, that he is a whole entire different skin entirely that blends in extremely well with the nighttime. That's why I like this set, because it blends and it holds in like the armor is actually Night Stalker's skin. I feel like this is another set that Valve would be able to add their own little special prismatic effects to it. Because the last time a Night Stalker set was added, it was the weird bug one. And the bug one looked really nice once it was in the dark phase, but during the day, it wasn't really that great. I feel like this is another set that they'd be able to put that extra little spin on, and it would be nice to see. Next, we have an axe set by Stefco. Lo and behold, yeah, another one by Stefco. Actually, Stefco hasn't even started. This is Stefco's start, basically, into my video. This one is called Blackthorn. Now, the reason I picked up this axe set was because it's actually somewhat unique that there's not too many tribal-esque axe sets out there. Now, I checked to see if this one was another resubmission, but it actually wasn't. This is just a straight-up axe set that is straight up ready to go. Now, of course, with the workshop week or workshop deadline being passed now, there's no real significant ways to edit this. But unfortunately, I still have to give a little bit of feedback on this. The only reason I probably wouldn't go 100% all in on this set is actually because of the axe itself. Believe it or not, the axe doesn't really seem that big part of the set. You could probably put any other axe in there, and it'll work out extremely well with this set texture and color-wise, unless it's not a red axe. I'm only saying this because it's just the axe doesn't feel that significant to this set. It doesn't look like it's the big thing that's poking out of this set. Because the big thing that's poking out of this set is the fact that this is a fur-based steel lineup set with red spikes. And it's a tribal outfit, in the sense. And tribal outfits are technically supposed to look a little bit more tribal-y. And the axe is probably the only thing that is the key thing that's not really looking very tribal-y, in the sense. There's no real way to edit it, but I'd imagine that if there were an ability to, I would ask to make it a little bit more darker and maybe a bigger axe that has a more prominent visual overall. But of course, the reason I like this set is because it is another older axe set that still blends in with this baseline scheme. It doesn't change axe's physical appearance in a great way, or not in a great way, but in like a overall just destroys the hero and makes a whole different set entirely. As you can see here in the top left with the set transform, or with like the normal axe, and then we look at the axe with the set here. There's not actually that significant difference of body mass and size with this axe. In fact, it's one of the few sets that I know of that actually gives him both shoulder pads. There's a lot of sets out there that only give him one shoulder. So that's another reason I like this set a lot. But we can't just go fall in immediately on the first set we had for Stefco, because we have a lot more Stefco sets right around the corner. And speaking of right around the corner, we do have a Bloodseeker set by Stefco and Godzy. Now, this one is called Gifts of the Flayed Twins. Now, again, it is Stefco. He's made another a tribal-esque set, but this one actually works for Bloodseeker because he is a very tribal kind of hero, in the sense that he is an old Bloodseeker god that just wants the blood to feed the Flayed Twins. And this is the Gift of the Flayed Twins. Now, in my mind, alright, you see that the first thing that came out out for me is that the glaives, or his, what would you want to call it? Oh, they are glaive. No, not glaives. What are those called? Whatever. His weapons. We'll just call them his weapons for now because I can't think of the actual term. His glaives are the thrown thing, not the. I'm trying to think of like anti-mage's blade. But you can see immediately that both weapons are actually different entirely in the sense that one is pure steel and the other one looks more of like the Egyptian steel. And that's what kind of caught my eye immediately, was that they were willing to actually put in two technical themes in with this Bloodseeker. Now, in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, this could either lead to the fact that this could be a set that has two styles and we just don't quite know about it, or it's just how the set's going to work, where there's two different weapons. Now, I felt it was a little bit weak on that sense until I looked at the fact that both arms are different too. As you see on the right side, the arm on one side is purely Egyptian armor, while the other side is more of the crimson steel all through his arm. Now, that's what caught me the most about this set, was because they actually blended it in perfectly, and like, it's the last thing you would think about, is that the weapon actually gives you a different arm style on both sides. And that's what caught me the most about this set, and that's why I liked it a lot. And I like it where like sets, they have like the baseline color and then they have the outer nice tips that kind of just blend in really well with the set, as you can see with the Bloodseeker in the bottom left here, that it's full on black with red outline and red solid tip. In a sense, it just looks perfect. Anyway, we got another set right around the corner too. There's so many sets we got to do. I don't want this to somehow take longer than our last set, because the last one was 43 minutes and there was 25 items. So if my math is correct, I have 13 items. It shouldn't take more than 20 minutes. So unfortunately, we're probably going to get there because we have yet another set by Elaine and Hunter x Hunter. Now, this one was, I believe, a resubmission, but the reason I picked this one up was because it has two styles. And I think the updated version of this is the second style, because we see the red Juggernaut and the blue Juggernaut. And I don't know if this set was released around the time when the Arcana came out or not, but I think with the ability to switch the color schemes for both of these sets is something that would be extremely valuable come the time now that we have this his Arcana. And this one is called the Oni Ninja. Believe it or not, I am a big fan of a lot of these ninja-esque sets, as we saw last week with the Ninja AM and the Ninja Terrorblade. Sorry, Samurai Terrorblade. But the reason I picked this setup a lot immediately was because of the high detail that was put into both the red and the blue versions of the set. Of course, it is just one quick change of the color scheme, but I don't actually know how quick and easy it is to change a whole entire color scheme of the set right off the get-go. So I want to think that the red set was actually the newer, updated version, while the blue set was the older version before the Arcana came out. Now the Arcana came out, so they made the red version on top of the blue version, so that way when this set, and if this set gets in, it'll actually blend in extremely well with the Arcana. Now, of course, since I can't really test that, I don't actually know what the Arcana looks like with this set, but I imagine because the set already looks so damn awesome in the first place, with these wolf-like patterns on the leg beats, as well as his just overflowing quote-unquote cape that comes off of his back, the shawl that goes around his neck, and the skull face with the mask, which would be replaced with the Arcana, if you went for the Arcana, works out extremely well. Like, I love it a lot. So, even Arcana or not, I think this is another one of those sets where Valve could put their special touch, and we'll see how that one goes. Of course, like I said, it is a resubmission, but that does not mean it's not going to get into the game. It just means it could possibly not get into the game immediately. But with that being said, we still have another set of sets right around the corner. We have, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more left. Next, we have Willow. Now, some of you have probably already seen this on Reddit, or you've seen it floating around on Twitter. But yes, we did pick up the Willow set to talk about. Iron Thorn by Garu, Yuri, and Balanosaurus. Now, the reason I picked up this set for discussion for Willow is, A, because a lot of sets for Willow kind of make her look a little more childish. This one is completely opposite. This one makes her look more scary. This one kind of defines the fact that she's a Dota hero, not Rich Campbell's secret waifu. Go ahead and add him on Twitter with that little clip there. But anyway, this set makes her look more of a bigger fear. This is very bat-like wings, which like suit her extremely well. Her iron sort of physique with the set, as well as the iron thorn horns. And the big thing I like to talk about, actually, is that they put a great bit of detail into Jex's cube, or lantern, whichever one you want to go for it here. Now, I think that not many people put too much effort into making Jex look a completely different style, but this one looks almost the same as the baseline lantern, except for the fact that the lantern is basically a full pure iron instead of the silver steel, kind of like the normal lantern of Jex. Or if you're like me, you have the rose lantern because you have the immortal. So the reason I picked up this set was just because the fact that it's another very small set that doesn't change Dark Willow completely, but still sets her baseline tone to be her baseline color scheme and her aggressive-esque style. I don't really see Valve trying to make a change to this set because it's perfect as is. Next, we have a Mars set by Natio, Sunsfan, and Najal. Now, the reason why there's not too much here was because I believe the set was actually posted up the minute I was getting all the assets for the video. Meaning, it was literally the exact second when the set was up, so there's some things that might be missing. If you go onto the workshop page, there's probably a lot more at this point. The reason I picked up this set was not because it's made by Sunsfan. And, well, not actually, it's made by Natio. It's not made by Sunsfan. It's all Natio. Sunsfan's just there. I don't know what stuff he does. He might be the idea guy. But the reason I picked up this one is because this one makes him look like a full-blown Legionnaire, which is exactly what the name is actually kind of made. It's called the Divine Soldier. And the reason I like this a lot because it's just a straight-up divine... It's a soldier. It's a Legionnaire. And you gotta remember that Mars was kind of a Legion Commander. Or not a Legion Commander. Don't at me and don't quote me on that one. But this one kind of makes sure that Mars still has that very commanding visual form. And we don't have any Mars sets right now. We have a Mars Spear. So there's a lot of things that Mars is open to do right now. And that is especially looking very nice in these very bronze and gold sets. The biggest thing I like about this set so far, when I reviewed it, was the big old cape, which has the Omni Knight-esque symbol on the back, as well as the Lion Pride shield. I'm a big fan of big Lion Pride shields, so once we see the other Mars, you'll understand why I like the shield, and then you'll understand why I like the other shield too. Next, we have a Pugna set called Researcher of Oblivion. It's by Yeastar, CCCH, Style D, Han, and some characters of which that I cannot read. If you can read them, please tell me who the heck that is, because I'm sure this is not the first time he's been talked about in this set. But I picked up this Pugna because it's a steampunk Pugna. Like, what is not cool about this? He's got a little steampunk, like, goggle thing on the top of his hat. He is a kid, by the way, but, like, this makes him look very pompous. And it's a very clean set, like the Necron book that's on the side as well. This is another set that I could definitely see Valve putting in their little special touch. And I don't think they're going to put in a special touch for this one, because this is another set that I think is absolutely perfect as is. Not a resubmission either. Very nice, beautiful set. It still has Pugna's, like, lower body of the skeleton being revealed, so it's not exactly a big change for Pugna overall. I don't know what Pugna's hands normally look like, though. I don't know if he has complete hands like we see in this picture. But I like this set so much so that I think that Valve will just leave it as is. There's not much they could really change about it, even putting in some colorful prismatic effects. Probably wouldn't make the set any worse or any better, because this set is pristine. Next, we have a Marana set by Aphelion, Nikey, and Karakuli. Karakuli? That. Anyway, I like this Marana set a lot because it's a mask set, and unfortunately I didn't have too much to work with here when I was going through a lot of the visuals, but the best thing about this was that I was actually able to get Marana's taunt, which, as you can see in the top left, actually works out extremely well with this model, because there's some sets that don't actually look extremely good with the taunt, and this one is definitely not the case. This one looks extremely well with the taunt and blends in with the suit's overall spinning capabilities. Now, the reason I like this set a lot was because it is a mask set for Marana, and mask sets don't really come too often, and when they do, they don't look that great. But as you can see quickly in the bottom right here, the mask covers Marana's face almost entirely and gives the full-blown hairstyle that works and looks exactly like your mount. That is actually, I believe I have the name of the mount written down here. It is called Coat. I know there's or Cote. It's K-O-T-E, so it might be spelled a different way. There wasn't an accent on the O, so I don't know It might be caught. Something like that. I don't know. But anyway, I like the set a lot because it actually has a very nice bland, or not bland. It's a nice color scheme for Mirana. And I don't know if this one was based around trying to make it for some other period of time, but it's a very nice Samada-esque set for Mirana. I don't think they can change too much to it, but if they were to add any prismatic effects, it would probably go between the head of the mount and the mask on Mirana if Valve were to add their own special touch. And the last set for the day, our second Mars set. This one is made by Nikey, Leo, and ZK87. This Mars set is called the Ori Hunter. And the reason I picked up this set, we already talked about it when I looked at the other Mars set, was that I loved how big and how crazy they put on the effort they put on the shields here. And as you can see, much like the Mars set I tried to reveal last week, the shield had a really crappy spin visual. Now that I'm coming into this week with the new Mars sets that are out and ready to go, the spin is amazing. And not to mention, I looked at this set when it was still being made in the black and white and steel looking version, and this just makes it look so much better, and it's so clean and beautiful. I think the most favorite part about this, other than the shield, because I'm going to talk about the shield every single time, is that he has a battle flag on his back. A big old standard that actually just... it dominates the rest of the set here, because usually, you look at the normal Mars, right? The normal Mars has it to where his hair is constantly flowing. This would be the replacement for his constantly flowing hair, is the battle standard that's on his back. And that's why I picked up this other Mars set today. Like I said, I usually don't like to pick up multiples of one set for each hero on the week, but this was definitely an exception because this Mars set was beyond exception. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for this episode of Workshop Weekly number 9. We're totaling at about 27 minutes here in the recording, which means it'll be about a 29-minute video. So, 13 sets, 29 minutes. It's still an all-time slow point on this one. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you thoroughly enjoyed Workshop Weekly 9. After this week, we'll be looking towards possibly doing interviews with workshop artists, so long as they're willing and able to be interviewed for Workshop Weekly. We are not going to force people against their will to try and do workshop interviews. That would be defeating the whole purpose of having the Workshop Weekly interview season. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you thoroughly enjoyed this episode of Workshop Weekly 9. This is Party PD signing off. Make sure to like, favorite, subscribe, etc., etc. Find me on Twitch. I'm Party PD as well, so... we'll see you next time for some more Workshop Weekly. This is Party PD, signing off. Soundtastic. I'll put this at the end for a blooper or something. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this Workshop Weekly episode. There will be a lot more in the future, as well as a lot of other videos that we have on this channel. So feel free to take a gander around and take some time and put your feet down. Watch some pleasant videos. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thanks again so much for watching. Consider following, subscribing, doing all the fun jazz that you want to do. We'll see you next time.